Welcome to the Let's Chat
podcast.
Welcome. And as we say at the beginning of the podcast, we're on Spotify. So if you guys need to quickly hit up Spotify, go there. You can minimize, walk, run, do your shit,
and then click all those buttons that give us stuff.
Yeah, click the likes, the follows.
The
you know what I'm saying? We like it. We see a lot of people we see the analytics. It's cool.
Obviously, yeah, we're watching the numbers.
Subscribe as well. Make sure. I see 50% of niggas are not subscribed, so we need you to be subscribed. You know what I'm saying? We see you. We are watching you. You know, so make sure you like and subscribe. Hit that bell as well. We found that bell is a thing now, so you gotta hit that bell.
Oh yeah.
Ding. So that
if you disagree with us, comment.
We love people. We love people to disagree with us. Actually, we actually love contrarians. You know, devil's advocates. We need that shit.
Exactly.
We like that.
And I respond to every comment.
Yeah,
I mean, I
will hold you to that one.
We'll hold you. This guy responds to every comment. Puts all the memes.
We'll put a meme right now.
Mad editing skills. Let's go.
All right. So the first story today is the massive stories. Well, Facebook has been many things has been happening with Facebook this week. So I know most of you guys know, Facebook was down for a very long time. But before we move on to that, we're going to go quickly to the whistleblower. So Facebook have an employee who works as a data analyst and who recently revealed a lot of information on how Facebook operates within, what their policies are towards safety and profit. And one of the major things that were coming out of her report was Facebook knows it's harming society in fundamental ways. And they're, as we would expect any company, any shareholder type company, they're
keeping that shit on lock.
You know, they're aligned towards their profits and obviously not the safety of their users. But obviously, politically and in a PR stance, they always pretend like they are looking at the safety of their user base. However, because she works in the data analyst team, she has the cold hard facts of what's taking place on Facebook, and the studies that Facebook has conducted full well know the impacts that they're having on society, especially the most vulnerable of our society, like teenagers, youngsters, and how they're still willing to ignore that and actually go ahead and do changes that directly affect kids, like Instagram for Kids. That's coming out soon.
Oh, well, that was a controversial thing. I don't think it's actually coming out. I think they backtracked on that.
They must have after the whistleblower, of course.
They backtracked.
They need to backtrack on that.
But they're not saying they're wrong. They're just saying we're pausing it to a later date. But we don't agree with that.
So they've been consistently showing this, and one of her main things was, so as you know, platforms like Instagram, Facebook, they are known for dopamine effect, huge dopamine hits, because consistently you are being told to be back on the app. Everything you do is that mini gratification, so much so our teenagers and youngsters are addicted to dopamine. So once they have been so exposed with dopamine, they can no longer concentrate in school. They can't concentrate in classes because obviously they need that consistent dopamine hit, the same that they get online. So it's ruining a lot of lives in general in what Facebook is doing, especially with their algorithms, a lot of hate speech.
Obviously, this isn't just Facebook. Obviously, TikTok does that as well. Maybe even to a larger degree nowadays.
But here we're talking about Facebook because they're one of the largest and have the biggest user base. If you look across WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram.
If you look at the population of Facebook, just the number of users, it's larger than certain countries. I mean, it's even larger than China and India. They have 2 billion. If they become one nation, they're the largest nation on earth.
Exactly.
Oh, sure.
Which shows you. And they have complete monopoly over communication.
Yeah, and they're getting more involved in like geopolitics as well. Like even some people were saying like, oh, they should get involved and be given a seat at certain like UN tables and stuff like that.
Facebook.
Yeah, they were saying Facebook and Google should be.
Which shows you the absolute power that they have. And then if you look at how they directly affected the 2016
the elections, of course,
with the Cambridge
Capital Riot as well.
Capital Riot with
even
Cambridge
recent elections as well.
So much so there's companies like Cambridge. I know. Cambridge Analytica companies that directly use Facebook's advertisement systems to sell services that directly affect elections that got presidents in Kenya into office because they used these services. It shows you immediately, you know, how powerful they are.
They are.
And And
it's not just them, obviously. Even this same thing happens on Twitter, where basically what companies like Cambridge Analytica do is they basically create profiles of people. They've used loads of like psychological literature and sociological literature to find out what type of political leaning you have, what type of personality you have, and then they can find out what images and what content to skew you towards one
slowly,
or the other.
But not too fast, slowly, because if they go too, like, you can't show someone who's a little bit politically right leaning.
You can't get them straight away to the extreme.
To the crazy. You slowly lead them there, and they're so smart about this.
Make it think like it's their idea.
So you're losing against an algorithm that none of us can beat mentally, can never beat, and it happens to us. That's why even today, like for me, as what I make sure I do is I have news sources from both leading sides, just so that I can keep. More of a central thought, I
deleted Facebook. I was like, fuck it. Yeah. After this last debacle, after this latest one with everything going down and shit, I was like, I'm out.
I had to bring it back because there's certain shit I needed to use that I had to have Facebook for. Yeah. I think even at work there was something we used. I had to have my Facebook to test it and shit like that.
That's actually true. Do you want to get straight into that as well now? Or?
Well, before we get into that, so do you guys know what's happening to this lady? Because people were saying she's going to get
the whistleblower.
Yeah, or...
I think she was being. Last thing I saw of her was she was speaking at some sort of hearing in front of.
Yeah, and she had just before she quit, she stole like huge amounts of data and like she copied it onto USB.
Yeah, to prove it, because no one's gonna believe you.
And the only thing I know about her, to be honest, I don't know much about her, who she is, fam. All of this stuff is just bullshit to me. It's just like sort of theater anyway. But I saw her. She was involved apparently in preventing Hunter Biden's story from being spread around Facebook as well for some reason. I don't know why.
Sorry.
So Hunter Biden is the president of the United States' son.
Yeah.
And he was included in some like conspiracy where he was basically funneling. It wasn't a conspiracy. He came out like legit stuff. Yeah. Legit, Oh yeah, there was like something about his laptop. So if you know about it,
I think it was the exact story was he got paid by, I think it was Ukraine.
Yeah, some Ukrainian gas company or energy companies, and he was basically using his dad as like leverage to get more money and and obviously he was found doing loads of like drugs and hoes and prostitution.
Trump was calling him out on it a lot during the presidential race.
Exactly. So she was in the team that basically helped censor that stuff on Facebook. So she prevented that stuff from going on Facebook.
Right. Are you sure about that?
I mean, this is just, we said let's chat shit podcast, so you know what I'm saying?
That sounds a bit off because she's a data analyst. I don't know what she's doing on that team.
But she was on that team. She was, I don't know. I'll find it right now. I'll look at it, but for sure, that's what I heard.
I'd be bare scared even if I knew what they were doing was wrong, I'd be scared to be the whistleblower because isn't there like legal ramifications?
Huge ramifications. That's why being
unless she's protected.
No, because being a whistleblower, but obviously it's hard for now, Mark and these guys to go after her now because it's one of those things where going after her will just further
ruin their reputation as well.
You don't want to do that.
But even like the US government goes against whistleblowers, even though whistleblowing is the right thing to do. Even the US government has punished like
the US government legally do it. So because in their case is because they call it
national security. It's a breach of national security.
It's like
endangering their people.
It's basically considered treason, as you saw what happened with Edward Snowden.
Yeah, he's still out.
He can't come back.
Found it in like couple clicks.
Facebook whistleblower was part. So that says Facebook whistleblower was part of a team that censored Hunter Biden's laptop story. Oh, okay, cool.
Just like that.
Nice. Okay, cool.
Just like that.
Put it on a podcast for people to see. So then, what was crazy was coincidentally, Facebook then goes down for 6 hours.
Oh yeah, that's why you want to do that way.
Huge. That was huge. Which for us. I work in. I do a lot of back end work, especially with like cloud services.
You're a computer scientist kind of nigga.
Yeah. So
nerding.
Yeah, nerding. So let me tell you guys how fucking hard it is for a company nowadays to go down. Because the reason it's extremely hard is majority using cloud services. Most of your stuff is of your service is spread around what they call availability zones and regions around the world. So if one area goes down, like an actual physical data center, you're fine because all your availability zones will be available and all your traffic will be routed that way.
Right.
However, for a company
as large as Facebook and as good as Facebook to go down for 6 hours is nearly unheard of in the tech industry. I was shocked. I couldn't believe it.
It's not only Facebook, is it? It's everything they own.
Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp. And This is all because of a what you call a DNS issue,
domain name
server, which is essentially when you go on your computer, you type in www.facebook.com. That name is then converted into an IP address, which is the IP address of the computer or the server, for example. That's where the entry point into Facebook is. And then there's a DNS server. That's the one that basically does the switch for you. So apparently, their DNS server was misconfigured and was down for a little bit. So much it was down so that no other computer could figure out what their IP address was and route their traffic there. And to get this fixed, where the server rooms are, to actually update this, they use a lot of this thing called Facebook Workplace, and a lot of their stuff is all connected into this like single sign-on type of system. So when that DNS server goes down, if you can't get to anything, if you can't route traffic anywhere, especially within the Facebook internal network as well, you can't even get to it. What happens is a lot of their, stuff that they use for like passes, stuff they use for access anywhere.
Yeah, maybe even games and stuff like that,
or wherever they need, access wise couldn't be used.
Yeah, so the Oculus was down as well. That's why I'm saying games as well. Oculus went down, VR, virtual reality.
But I'm talking about within the internal.
My
teams. So then, because of that, the fact that they had no access, it took them a very long time to actually get into that server place. Go and actually.
So they had to go in physically.
Yeah, physically couldn't get in.
Yeah,
the door went down. Even the door was part of that outage. They couldn't get in the server room.
Right. And where was this info from? You guys got it from Reddit or? That's where I got this from myself.
Oh no, I was just reading around.
And
watching videos.
It's crazy, man. Absolutely crazy. Because like obviously I was trying. I think I was talking to my mom at the time, and then WhatsApp just like shut off. I was like, Mom, what happened? Like, you can imagine like everybody probably did the same thing as I did. They were all like, what's going on? Then they uploaded Facebook again, and they check on their phone, and then everyone's like, oh, something's wrong with my phone, something's wrong with my laptop. But the whole time, everyone's just basically DDoSing Facebook's servers because nobody can get on. So yeah, it's peak.
No, there won't be. No, they won't get DDoS because no one can find the service. So
everyone's just spamming Facebook.com, everyone's just spamming WhatsApp, everyone's spamming Instagram, but nothing was resolved.
Like in the tech industry, this is going to be a massive case study. Everyone's going to be looking into
Someone's getting fired. Someone's getting fired.
100%, because this is the most. I've never seen a single point of failure to fuck up that big.
Apparently, it was affecting like Twitter as well. Like, because people were like, okay, Carl, if I can't use Facebook, I'll just go on Twitter. Right. And then Twitter was getting too much traffic.
Yeah, they couldn't handle it.
That's actually mad.
And you guys remember when
the whistleblower was the bitch who was in there? It was her.
And Amanda. But what's it called? You remember when Google went down as well? Like when YouTube was off and everything, and people couldn't use like Google Hangouts and and then when Microsoft had their outage as well, people couldn't use Microsoft Teams and everything. It's just imagine if those three companies go down, there's no business, there's no economy. Can't
communicate.
Communication comes to us, and that when
three companies,
and that's why I was forever saying that these guys need to be held to a standard of like free speech, be held to a standard of being a public forum, because now people are like, oh yeah, but you can still communicate, you have your free speech anyway. I'm like, yeah, but when our primary means of communications nowadays is becoming internet based services, and they're saying to you, we're going to employ our own rules on the speech, it shows you that they have near unprecedented control of the global speech and what people think and do. Yeah. Fucking crazy.
I mean, they shut down the president of the United States, so
and they're not elected. They are unelected body.
Fully, they were like, "What, Trump? You want to talk? Yeah, nah. How about no?
No.
How about no?" And all of them,
they all said it. Bro, Shopify came out like, "I'm banning YouTube, bitch."
Just to get in the news at that point.
Oh my days, the power is insane. That's why we need like decentralized services. You get me?
Exactly. You just can't it just shows you that. These guys are too powerful.
Mad.
Unlike some companies, who's struggling, like these Chinese companies out here struggling to pay their interest.
This is another company. So last time we spoke about Evergrande and them being able to fail, pay their interest.
Yeah, let me just say what this was. So a Chinese company is now unable to pay again some of their loans and interest. And as you were saying,
so I was just saying Evergrande, which was the one we spoke about last podcast, which is a development company. They build houses, build hotels, buildings, hospitals, all that kind of stuff. They take loads of money from everywhere around the world, including all the largest companies in America, such as BlackRock and etc. And the same thing happened again with another development company called, I think this one was called Fantasia. I don't know what's going on with these names. Evergrande, Fantasia.
Lit names, man. Whoever their team naming teams are sick, bro. Sounds like something out of a game, fam.
Sounds like something you'd invest in. Fantasia.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they weren't able to pay their interest, so they're like, oh, so we can't pay you guys either. Evergrande fucked up.
Okay.
We can't pay either.
Yeah.
And then the Chinese government were like, okay, come, let's halt the trading of Evergrande stock. So they prevent anyone from selling the stock basically, so it can't go down.
Okay.
Yeah. Smart. Can't go down if you can't sell.
It's a bit like when the Robin Hood thing happened, when everyone was buying GameStop and AMC, and then GameStop was like, okay guys, you can't buy it no more, but you can sell it if you want. If you sell it, you can sell it if you want.
I remember that. That was so
it's
ridiculous.
Just constant market manipulation going on, whether it's at the Chinese level or at the US and UK level, because even Trading 212 had halted GameStop and stuff like that before. So all you see nowadays is market manipulation. Clearly, people and companies that are supposed to be paying off hundreds and hundreds of millions just on their interest, not even like because they owe like billions, because they basically go to the government and say, "Yo, boss man, can I borrow a couple bill?" And we the slang in London, bill is like, well, how much is it? A couple thousand, right? Can I borrow a bill? It's 1,000.
A bill? Nah, it's 100.
100 is a bill.
Yeah, 100.
And a bag is 1,000, right?
Yeah.
But in the market, they go, oh yeah, government, can I borrow a bill? And they go, yeah, calm. How much you want interest for that? How about 1% interest? And they get it, and they get given billions of dollars for 1% interest or some shit like that, even lower sometimes. And they can't even pay back. They're like, we took the money, but about that, the way my bank account,
we spent it.
Because a lot of these companies did the same strat. It's called growth on debt. So you basically keep taking on debt, keep taking on investment that you need to pay back, and you keep growing and growing and hoping you can eventually pay back these debts as you're growing. Yeah. But keep taking on debts to grow even further, and then it gets to a point where, for these companies as well, they can't pay back the debt. They just can't afford it anymore because all they've built their foundation on is debt.
So if you look at like the likes of Monzo right now, because I work in the financial industry, my company, we operate on a profit basis. We are already profitable,
money making.
And if you look at our competition, like Monzo, Revolut, these guys, Monzo has never operated on a profit ever.
Right.
Ever.
YouTube hasn't even operated on a profit ever.
Never. Yeah, YouTube has never ever done it. And but Monzo is so bad now that investors are no longer willing to actually put money in it. So they recently actually did they recently reported to the market that they can only operate for 12 months unless they get more.
Oh, they've announced that recently.
So
the thing is, you guys don't know it's been announced, but it's been announced in the investor.
Oh shit! Insider talk.
So you know, like when everyone has to release like quarterly updates.
Yeah.
And in these updates, in the fine, like we have to dig deep, and then they were like, we cannot operate for more than 12 months without further investment. Basically, they said. But they said this last year. It was true. They couldn't, but they got
the money.
Right, this year. They probably think
they're probably gonna get the money.
That's what they believe.
Yeah.
But
let's hope so, because
But now investors. I know we did. But it's slowly getting worse and worse for them. Actually, it's quite bad because they have no way of making money.
That's no good. That's no good.
Yeah, it's a strat that can work if you have controlled debt. And you know you're going to be profitable in a certain amount of years, and you can calculate how much you can pay off for now until you get
swear, I'm starting to think none of them even want to pay that shit back. Because look at Uber. Uber still hasn't paid back apparently.
But
really? What is going on?
The company I worked for previously, they were operating at a loss for 5 years. And as I was leaving, they just ended up becoming profitable. So it actually works. But because they were operating at that loss for so long, aggressive growth.
Right.
And it works.
Yeah. It can work, but for these companies, it's.
But what's happening is a lot of people have been, as you said, I've been attempting this fucking thing.
And what it does is if most people fail, that means all of their, especially capital misallocation, and so the government has given loads of money to companies that are going to fail. So now the government has to, like, as you can see nowadays, you see that in the UK and in the US, the governments are literally buying stocks straight from the market, bro. Right. They're no longer just giving them the money on interest. They're like, really? How about we just buy the stock cuts? Yeah, I think the US Federal Reserve, for example, I think they're buying like a couple of hundreds of billion every month from stocks.
Oh shit! Okay.
Like from these big ones like banks and stuff like that, and insurance companies. Literally, they're buying their stock. And coincidentally, the Fed
conflict of interest.
The Fed presidents. Not only that conflict of interest, they own the stock that they're buying.
Right.
Yeah, you heard that. You heard that straight, fam.
Buy it before the pump.
You heard that straight. They own the stock that they are using the government's money to buy.
Yeah.
Bam, bro. When I saw that, I was like, yo, they're not even like trying to hide no more.
Nah, they're not.
And the craziest one, for example, you guys probably heard about Nancy Pelosi. I know I'm going on a couple of tangents here, but you know Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the Democrat Party?
Yeah,
the
House,
clap ting, fam. Oh my days.
She's a buff ting.
Why are you shading
Nancy
her?
Pelosi is buff. She'll get it.
She's got a bunch of like what's it called surgery and stuff like that. She just looks a bit funny, you know. They look like something.
She's a 10 spice, bro.
Either way. So her salary is like $200,000 a month, but apparently her net worth is hundreds of millions. It's like how did that happen?
Yeah.
And then somebody released her playbook where basically she tells her husband to buy all the stocks that she knows are going to be pumped.
Really? That's probably insider trading, but
bro,
It's considered.
It is, but they're like, well, I mean, technically it's fair because everyone's got the knowledge eventually, right?
Nah, that's how it works. Even for me, I can't tell you what's happening in my company.
Yeah.
Due to because we're publicly traded, so it's like it will be insider trading,
and I'm not allowed to buy them stocks in my company myself. I have to go through the share scheme or whatever it is. I'm not allowed to go on the open market.
Is it?
Yeah, that's considered insider trading. Yeah, it is. Yeah, so if I now buy if I go on Trading 212 and buy the stocks of my company, that's insider trading.
Shit.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, you have to get it through the company's
I was gonna do that, fam.
Really?
After seeing what was going on, I was thinking, fuck it, bro.
Check, 'cause my contract specifically says I can't. So maybe it's
check your contracts, boys. Check your contracts. Don't say anything you don't want to say right now.
But it's kind of inside trading because you know ahead of time that
I know it's about to pop up.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, fuck it.
That's why you're meant to go through the share scheme the company offer.
But regardless, all of this is just putting loads of risk against all governments because now they are not only like have they always been in bed, but now they're deeper in bed. Now they're like deep in bed with all these companies and these banks, especially if they're failing to pay, then the government's like, oh shit, we got no money to spend on,
we have to bail them out.
Yeah, we have to bail them out. We have to keep doing this. So it's like putting a lot of risk, put a lot of risk on the economy.
That kind of sounds like, oh, that's a China problem, isn't it? So why do we care? But unfortunately, it's not a China problem.
They're in bed.
Yeah, in bed with everyone. Australia, the UK, the US, we've all put money into these companies because what they do is they take investment from different people, so it just looks like they're growing to us. We don't know that they're just getting in debt with all these other people. So Australia have announced recently that it's going to be stress to them if these companies go down because they rely heavily on them. Like apparently Australia's iron market, they export iron and certain raw materials to China because they do so much
trading.
Yeah, and their steel industry is huge because of construction.
Yeah,
and they need raw materials to construct. And apparently that's a point of failure that Australia will feel a huge hit if these companies go under because they won't buy it anymore. Yeah. And then also Australia have huge amounts of money in some of these companies as well. So if they go bust, then all the money that they're owed disappears into thin air.
Sound like a domino effect coming up.
Honestly,
protect yourself.
Exactly.
Hide your kids. Hide your wife.
It's going to hit us as well at that point.
Yeah, it's going to be huge. Economic, waves in the global.
Got no money to be affected.
Not me.
I'm too broke for that.
I'm too broke. You can't take my money if I ain't got none.
But yeah, did you hear about the story with NASA actually trying to crash a asteroid?
Yeah, for real.
Did you hear that? Wait, what they crashing?
And a spacecraft into an asteroid.
So it's not even a rocket; it's a spacecraft. There's like one of the old ones in the garage. So send it up.
NASA's about to crash a spacecraft into an asteroid to test Earth's defenses in the case where an asteroid that's too big is going to create too much damage that's coming towards the Earth.
You need to break it up a bit so it dissipates the atmosphere.
So that it attacks everybody.
Equally. Equality, bro.
Equality, force equality.
So basically, everyone's been like theorizing what would happen, if an asteroid actually does come. So I was watching some Veritasium video. You guys know about Veritasium on YouTube?
Yeah. That guy's scientist guy, bro. You
really?
Absolutely. He's got really great science illustration. Shout out to Veritasium. You know you're doing it big.
Yeah, sponsor us.
Collapsing.
Imagine we're sponsored by science. We just chatting shit here. We're literally anti-science.
Don't even have facts.
We got this guy. He's anti-science.
Anti-science, apparently.
Anti-vax, anti-science.
I'm a scientist, by the way. Man graduated as a neuroscientist. Anyway,
but he's anti-neuroscience as well.
But anyway, so he had this crazy video that I was watching that actually I had to watch afterwards when I saw the story because I was like, wait, how likely is it that we get hit by an asteroid?
Anytime, innit?
bro, it can happen anytime. The scientists, we are clueless. They're like, oh yeah, our prediction rate is about 5% accurate of knowing if an asteroid is gonna hit like now. So we don't know. We can try predict. We're looking out. We've got all these telescopes.
But you're saying this though. But what's the effects? Why are we scared of an asteroid?
Yeah, because if large enough, depending on the size, obviously, they're very dependent on the size. But the ones that you should be really, really, really worried about are the super, super, super big ones and the super, super, super small ones. The ones in between aren't as dangerous, apparently.
The small ones, the ones that break up in the atmosphere before they even get to us.
They're going to be like a hailstorm. That's apparently what the theory is regarding the dinosaurs.
But we get hit by asteroids every day.
Yeah, but a small. No, when I say small, I'm talking about like a kilometer. Like that's relatively small for an asteroid, in comparison to the ones that could hit us, for example.
Oh no, because we get hit by asteroids every day. It's just small ones.
No, I'm not talking about like little stones and that. I'm talking about like
the fat
1 kilometer things.
I see.
But if they hit us, it's gonna just be peak. It's gonna be raining down hail for like multiple days, just raining like hail. Not hail, sorry. Stones with like
that's a bit different.
Lava stones.
That's a bit different.
Basically, lava stones.
Get hit by hail, you're alright.
But it's not just hail either. Like wherever it hits, it's going to impact, and there could be tsunamis.
Yeah, it's going to be massive sound waves. Are going to destroy everything around the cities, especially if you hit in the city. Everything's going to domino effect. All the buildings are going to then crash, and then the glass is going to be flying around everywhere. Bro, basically 9/11 times a million.
Yeah. It's
basically
worse than a nuclear bomb, I think. Some of them, depending on the size.
Basically,
so now that we know the actual destructive force,
it can be extremely destructive. And it can fuck everyone.
What are we doing to stop this?
So believe it or not, but we have never once. We've always theorized it, but we have never once actually deflected an asteroid and tested out if we can actually protect ourselves against an asteroid. We just thought, if it happens, we
on a full on like. We'll see. Go on if it happens.
Bro, listen. I'll literally read it out. Let me put my glasses on quickly.
Yo,
the asteroid.
What are these NASA niggas up to? They ain't done shit since the moon thing. They ain't done. They would be AFK, fam. Listen. You know what pisses me the most off? These man was so AFK since the moon thing. SpaceX had to come here to wake them up for some competition.
Apparently, it's because most of their money got cut. Apparently, the US put most money into military instead of NASA in the end.
Word,
good.
Because that's where they launder the money the most. Like, we're gonna launder money in space. Like,
you can't be doing that.
You can't be. You know what I'm saying?
Read the thing. But
yeah. So they plan to crash this thing called the DART, which is some sort of spacecraft that they can control it slightly, but not too much.
Okay.
And it's gonna be the asteroid being targeted. The one they're targeting is not threatening to Earth, but if successful, it will be the first time humans have altered the path of a non-Earth object in the solar system. So literally, this is gonna be our first test to see if we can do it.
You know what happens in every fucking test we do?
Fail.
Bug. Error.
Imagine they're gonna bring it closer.
Yeah, imagine it deflects it towards us.
Imagine it deflects it towards us, causes a fat blackout thing, a fat blackout thing, like what's about to happen to us after what they're predicting winter blackout in the UK, after the cable fire. What?
Yeah, so basically, some sort of cable fire happened around, I think it was the southern region, where they have a bunch of energy plants, and how they transmit electricity across the region. And so basically that's set on fire, so they've been set back a little bit. And obviously you don't want delays when you're spreading energy. When you want to send energy to a population, you want it to be always available, right? Because people are always using lights, chargers, everything. You can't have like intermittent energy. Like you need to be constantly at peak. So usually what they do is they oversupply, and every year apparently this company who's in charge of it has to give you like a winter forecast. But this time for some reason they gave it earlier because there's been a bunch of these like energy shortages, energy prices going up around Europe, even random stuff like this, where something catches on fire, the lorry drivers can't bring gasoline. So it's just been a cascade of events that
consistent fuck-ups.
Consistent fuck-ups, basically.
And here, from what I'm reading, it's saying that the risk of an actual blackout has increased significantly because a fire affecting a key subsea cable eroded what could be basically the backup, as you said, because you need to have more than
safety net, pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, go on.
I was going to say, and apparently this is the cable that brings energy from France over to us. We import energy from France and Europe, and this is the cable that does it, and it's fucked till March, apparently.
Till March
next year.
After the winter.
But they said it's calm. We got this.
I like that. Keep it positive, innit? Keep it positive.
So, like, it's calm. It's calm.
Man will be shivering my yarn like this positively.
They warned us earlier. Yo, listen, we might fuck up, but we're good. We're good.
Fuck it. No, that's that.
So yeah, there's a little threat. Check your, what's called your tariffs. Make sure you're paying the right.
And the French, the French are. I bet it's them as well.
100%.
Yeah, they started the fire.
Bro, did you hear? They started the fire. Cause did you hear what they said about like? Christmas food and that.
What did they say?
They were like, oh yeah, they were saying we're gonna stop, we're gonna reduce the imports to the UK because I think they were having a fight with the UK
They're
recently.
still butthurt about the submarine
And the fish and the fish
and
and
the
the
fish as
fisheries.
well.
Yeah. So they're like you're not gonna get your was it pigs in blanket? That was the one.
Oh no, that's actually a violation.
That's the one they tried
That's
targeting.
my favourite thing, bro. I can't handle that.
That's the one they tried to target.
Nah.
You know, for the longest amount of time in my life, I never knew what pig in blanket was. I was like, what the fuck is that, bro?
Haram.
But yeah, obviously it's haram, so that's why I didn't know it was.
They're
Obviously.
actually the best, so the best.
So it's like a little piece of sausage
It's
wrapped with
sausage
bacon.
wrapped in bacon, bro. It's the best of the best. It's
the
both
best of
two
the
best
best, yeah.
flavors.
So they were like, we're gonna take that one. We're gonna hit them straight where it hurts. They were like, and now listen, yeah. Soon come, we might have to hit the wars with the French because they're moving mad now.
Yeah,
they're moving mad.
Yeah,
they're
now they
mad.
overset the mark. With
They
the pigs in
really
blanket.
did. Now they're taking a piss, fam.
The Yorkshire prisons come next. It's the end, bro. Nuclear attack.
Bro, I actually I'm so like culturally like insensitive. I don't know anything about what you guys eat.
Oh really?
I really don't know. But the only time I ate like I don't know British meals was UK school meals maybe back in the day.
What would you eat at home? What was your?
Basta baris.
Oh really? Oh okay.
By the way, that was rice and pasta. Basically, that's all I ate.
Rice and pasta is a meal.
No, like separately. Rice,
right.
you know, on one day, you know,
Yeah.
and then pasta the next
okay.
day. Maybe some lasagna if I'm well behaved.
Sugo is like stew. Sohar is stew. Sorry, I mean,
Oh,
sugo
really?
is like yeah.
Oh,
I don't even know what that one was. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Oh, done.
Yeah, that's nice. But yeah, so it's looking risky out here. Let me just say. But talking about bullying, as we were getting bullied by the French, the global world economies.
Oh,
bullied.
yeah, so this is an update.
Yeah, this is an update to the story in which Ireland. When actually the G20, I think it was in the G7, they all came together and said we need a global corporation tax for companies to not stop avoiding paying taxes.
Allegedly.
And then obviously those ones who like Ireland, you know, countries like that where
Singapore.
yeah,
Hungary.
where they have a very low corporation tax to attract as much business is hugely part of their economy. If they reduce it, they lose that business. So they got bullied into actually accepting the change.
Yeah.
Ireland has been bullied.
It's a good thing.
I think there's Estonia. There's about 2 or 3 other European countries who are still a little bit on the fence.
They're holding the line. They hold the line.
They hold the line for now. They will be bullied soon, hopefully.
There's a few that said no actually, and I'm really surprised. They're not European. It was like Sri Lanka, Pakistan, and somewhere else.
They can say no
That
if
said
they
no.
want, but once the whole world comes together on sanctions on you, you will be saying yes quickly.
Yeah, it's crazy because
Yeah.
the what's it called, the organization that's heading this is OECD. I don't know what they stand for, but all I know is like I think it's 138 countries.
Yeah, that's the pact. That's the
Yeah.
pact.
yeah. 138
So
countries.
imagine they all turn around and said, "Yeah, cool, we'll sanction the guys who say no." Best believe, man, they're gonna switch their minds
Bro,
so quick.
It's like when you're playing cards and you can bully someone during the
You
poker
know.
thing when you
Yeah.
have
Up to.
We have too much money. When you have too much money in it, you bet a little bit extra, knowing that that's
Bro,
all
you
in.
can't afford it. you can't afford to
Yeah.
keep playing like I am. So let's do this.
But
Yeah.
I was quite confused because the ones that have said no, I checked, and they have like it's somewhere between 20 to 30% corporate tax at the moment, which is higher than the minimum that.
Oh, maybe they're saying they're
They're
gonna
saying
reduce
no
it.
as a show-off thing, you know, like to pretend like they got some kind of power.
It benefits them because it forces the countries like Ireland, who are at like 12.5% at the moment, to come up, and then they're more competitive against these countries that are basically undercutting them hugely.
Yeah.
So I don't really understand why they're saying no.
I don't know either. But to be fair to Ireland, they did say like as long as our small and medium companies can still have 12.5% instead of 15%, we'll make sure that the biggest companies such as, you know, Apple, whoever else is in there, you know, they have to pay 15%. So that makes them, I think, net, they lost a couple billion for doing this.
Okay.
But they were like, it's calm as long as the small and medium companies
Right.
still pay lower. So
Yeah.
they didn't get bullied completely.
And the reason that they're doing this is because globally it's been a massive issue in people avoiding taxes and finding ways around taxes.
Fuck tax, fam.
Yeah, I would avoid it if I could, but because I'm having to pay, I have to be on these man's team.
Yeah.
Until I join your team,
Innit?
until I join your team, I'm cussing you guys out.
Yeah.
But if I make it there, I'll be on your team too.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Until you start dodging, until you get an accountant that teaches
Until,
you.
exactly until I can dodge the taxes, I'm team taxes because I'm paying some of the most taxes in the fucking country.
Bro, it's actually disgusting.
I know I pay some of the
Fam,
most. It's violations.
It's violation,
40
bro.
plus percent.
And if you get
Yeah.
to, bro, the brackets are ridiculous,
They're
bro.
stupid.
Unbelievably
Yeah.
unfair.
Disgusting, bro.
Because how is a guy on 45k
Paying
in the
the
same bracket as a don in 150k.
And not only that, how's 150k? Like, why do they stop there? Like, why don't we?
Oh yeah. So 150k. Yeah. You know the next bracket is after all of that
millions.
After all that, from 45 to 150, yeah, 5% they add it on top, so it becomes 50% from 150 onwards. But think about
Disgusting.
this. But think about this stupidity is. How is all the brackets congested around from the
lowest? Why is it concentrated at the lowest?
Exactly.
It's like the middle class has to pay for everything. It's a peak.
Yeah, it's meant to benefit the lower class, but it doesn't really at all. It ends up putting the burden on the
lower class by far. Yeah. But it just shows you that people have been doing this for years. Companies, corporations. So now they're trying to tackle on it. And as you can see, recently we had the massive, journalistic papers release, which was the Panama Papers.
Yeah.
And what happened in the Panama Papers is what Panama Papers is a coalition of journalists around the world who come together and basically leak and find documents regarding financial tax avoidance.
Yeah, exactly.
And what they were able to find was some of the most powerful people in our political spheres are the first people on who avoid taxes. The politicians, the ones who are setting in tax rates, who are the ones who are meant to be showing us. Yeah, the ones who are meant to show us how we do it. Some like we saw in the older papers. I think it was called the Paradise Papers before. Or something like
the
that.
old one was called Panama. This one was called Pandora.
Really?
Wasn't it like that?
I don't remember.
There's so many.
Welcome to the Let's Chat Shit podcast.
Listen. There's so many papers. Yeah, but it just shows you.
I think it's the same thing. I think it's always so. In 2016, it was 11.3 trillion files were leaked, called the Panama Papers, and that's when the group of journalists grouped together, because you can't read through 11.3 trillion.
Yeah,
and apparently they've been reading through it since 2016 and will continue to read through it because there's so much to read that news stories keep coming out throughout the years.
I thought they'd done
the latest one is Pandora Papers are 11.9 million leaked documents with 2.9 terabytes.
So it's different to the Panama.
This is a different thing. It's the latest thing, and Mr. Obviously our old Prime Minister Mr. Blair was on it apparently.
And Cameron was on the one that was in the middle. So, but it doesn't matter because every year there'll be new things.
Yeah, but this one came out 3rd of October 2021, which is like a couple days ago, bro.
Exactly, that's the one.
So many. Bro, they're never gonna read for it. It's no point. Just give up.
But it shows you. The thing is, it's like none of this is illegal. Let me just make that crystal clear.
Yeah.
Every politician who's doing this, it's not illegal. There's a difference between tax evasion, which is illegal, and tax avoidance, which is legal. Tax avoidance is morally wrong, but there are loopholes for you to actually legally avoid taxes. However, yes, as Masood's giving that face, yes, of course, you could talk about what's moral or what's not, because if you leave the loopholes, man's taking the loopholes. If there was a loophole for me, I will not be paying that tax. Best believe.
Swimming in that loophole, bro.
They're only available to the rich. That's the problem. Once you reach a certain level, then you get access.
And as I said, close the loopholes for now. If I make it there, we can keep it open.
There should be a green card for this. They should have like accepting, like, but they probably even do. They have like applicants, like applicant list. Yeah, who wants to be on the list?
I think you have to have a good enough accountant with enough money for them to be able to open these offshore companies.
Yeah.
Probably some shit like that. We need to read more into, obviously, but
it just shows you,
the game's rigged. The game's rigged.
It is rigged, and it's not going to change.
It's definitely going to change.
The people who control the rules are the people that are also benefiting from the rules. So why would you change it?
Line your pockets.
And I rate them. Fuck it. You gotta do what you gotta do.
You got aim to get into that, that level of society. You want to be there to take advantage with them.
Actually,
we can sit here and cry about it, but it ain't gonna change anytime soon. We can read these papers, it ain't gonna change. You could just join the club.
Oh, but this is not the only leaks. Obviously, now I'm doing a little switch up. There's another leak, fam. You guys saw about the Twitchleak recently.
Oh shit!
Equally dirty, to be honest. Well, I guess they're not.
Everything's getting leaked. Even Facebook had I don't know. We didn't put it on here, but even Facebook had a recent leak as well.
But it wasn't really a leak. It was more of a hack.
Yeah, hack. Exploit. Who put it on?
It was me actually.
Go on, jump on the thing.
So, Twitch TV basically is a streaming. Twitch TV is a streaming platform where you can watch people play games.
Hot tub streams.
Wait, I bet you let's talk about that afterwards.
yeah. So it just allows you to watch streams of people playing games and stuff. And what happened was recently they got hacked and the entire code base of their website got released.
Oh yeah.
So firstly,
the full source code.
The full source code. So I could just grab that fucking source code, stick it on a server, and I got Twitch TV. Welcome to the game.
Welcome.
And so it was a big hack on that side. But also what was hacked was
personal
data on what the some of the streamers were making. Some of them were making a lot more than a lot of people actually thought. Fat numbers, huge numbers. A lot of them are vastly wealthy. And in fact, you know what kind of shocks me sometimes? Hits it. These man got a donate button. Why are we donating to charity? Who's the charity here we're trying to donate to? It's a bit mad to
be a reverse Uno card on that.
You need to be donating to me.
Trust me.
But anyways, so massive leak in personal data. SQC, we found out, was making some of the most money, about 2 to 3 million.
Woo!
I think was it.
It's funny though, because what's that guy's name? I think recently there's been loads of Twitch streamers who are getting heat because they're basically multi-millionaires,
right?
But they're espousing socialist views. So they're they're like, we should be socialists. We should share money. We should distribute it equally. Equity. And then they go, oh yeah, by the way, I just bought a $3 million house.
Here's my house video.
Here's my mansion.
House tour video.
Wait, here's my house tour video. Here's my mansion. Donate, please.
They'll say anything.
No, but I rate it. Fuck it, make your money, G. Line your pockets, just like
exactly.
I said.
If you got the opportunity, take advantage of it.
But very massive leak. It's embarrassing as well. Amazon were like,
bro, literally feels like this podcast will just talk about money. It's crazy.
Well, I didn't realize how much money there. I knew it was a lot, but I didn't. Some of them are earning mils on the monthly basis.
Oh, whoa!
Apparently, some of the money, and a lot of the leaks didn't even include some of the donation values. It was more just what that they get from
sponsorships.
Not even sponsorships.
Not even nothing.
Yeah, so it missed out half of what they're earning. Half of it, 30. Honestly, we need to become Twitch streamers.
Yo, Twitch, we're coming for you, fam. Bezos, set us up.
We'll start doing live streams, innit? We'll just sit here. Apparently, you can just do whatever you fucking
true.
want.
It's called chatting or something.
Bro, just chatting. Let's get into just chat. What is going on over there, fam? Literally,
do anything.
There's a guy who made a website. Basically, it's called like booba.tv, and he just selects. Somehow got some like artificial intelligence or something. I don't know. He selects everyone, all the girls that are basically trying to abuse young kids for money. It's literally them. Facing the ass to the camera as close as possible, making sure you're wearing the best, most tightest, clothing, and they're like, we're just chatting,
we're just chatting.
Hot tub, and then they're in the hot tub with their bikinis. They're writing little kids' names on their body.
It's shocking,
mad, isn't it?
It's like
just chatting.
They're basically pedophiles. Some of these things.
It's sounding a bit like that. I ain't gonna lie.
But it's just.
Is Twitch age restricted on content?
I think it's 13.
Yeah, but how you checking? How you checking?
Well, the Twitch are meant to moderate it, but they don't, because there's been loads of issues that have come out with the Twitch moderators.
I'll make a Twitch account right now. I can say however old I am.
Yeah.
Like even some of the streamers had relationships with some of the Twitch employees.
Yeah, they just abuse so much their power.
It's embarrassing.
So much.
Twitch is one of the worst when it comes to this kind of stuff.
It's crap. Even on TikTok, like all the little boys just scrolling through the endlessly infinite scroll. Like, oh my god, look at these twerk.
That's TikTok.
Yeah, that's TikTok. It's the same shit. It's crazy, bro.
The same, yeah. But
more money, more problems.
Well, actually, for Newcastle United, money has spoken. So, if you guys don't know, the vastly proud English club Newcastle United, who stands up for their thing, have now accepted their overlords of the Saudis. So, if you guys don't know, Newcastle United is a football team who recently got purchased by what essentially is the Saudi Crown Fund. So it is basically the government who essentially purchased the team for what could be. I think it wasn't that high of a figure that they copped him for, but
I think 305 mil.
Yeah, but they're worth 300 billion.
What, the team?
No.
Nice.
The ones who
right.
So everyone knows now, as we saw with Man City, when that happened, they just went straight to the top of the league. Why? Because they bought all the best players, bought all the best everything.
Bring that oil money.
Why Newcastle? Just it was up for sale at the time. Why?
The reason was Newcastle was cheap.
Right.
Also, it has a great history, and it was worth buying for them. It seems,
right.
and it's so funny because I've never seen so many EDL people wearing the full qamis. Say,
what's a qamis?
They had it's the white robe with the hat.
The people go to prayer with, right?
Yes, and then they also had the Saudi flag and everything.
No way.
They were all flying the Saudi flag because they all knew they're going to the top of the league. and there were, some of them were saying the Arabic words and shit. like it just they were fully embracing the takeover of their Saudi overlords.
Why would some see this as a problem?
Well, so the reason people are saying it is a problem is because it's more of like a sellout. It's like the Premier League is losing its identity. It's becoming a situation in which that foreign powers are just coming in and absolutely just changing everything and just pumping ridiculous money into the system.
It's no longer
and it's
English
no longer really or local like English, and
I mean, it hasn't been for a while anyway.
Yeah,
but.
That's true. But I think that's what some people are kind of against,
and also people are against a lot of the stuff that Mohammed bin Salam does anyway. Who is, I guess, he's the crown prince of is it Saudi? I can't even see with my glasses. And obviously, Mehdi Hassan on Twitter said, MBS, Mohammed bin Salam, the murderer of Khashoggi, which is, of course...
He didn't murder him. It was some other guy who put him in acid. He sent
the order. He gave the order. He gave the order.
So that guy was a journalist, right?
Yeah.
And he got killed in a embassy in
Turkey. Yeah, and they put his body in acid to try and dissolve it.
And then they hired someone that kind of looked like him to walk out the embassy and down the road, but on CCTV you could clearly see he had different shoes, different clothes, and it just wasn't him, and his wife was still standing outside waiting for him, and he never came home.
That's so peak. And then he adds on, the architect of starvation in Yemen is becoming the de facto owner of the British Premier League football club Newcastle. Imagine the reaction if they say Bashar al-Assad had bought Newcastle United. Our hypocrisy in the West on human rights knows no bounds.
Well,
like you said, money talks.
Money has spoken, and money speaks.
Yeah, I think it's finalized now as well.
It's finalized. But now what's happening is 19 of the Premier League teams have come together to oppose it. And you know what's so funny?
What are you going to
do? you know what's so funny? Someone posted this meme of like, oh, how about that? Didn't think I would see you here with like Chelsea and Man City, the two teams who were bought by like, one was again another Saudi, and in Chelsea's one it was by a Russian.
Oh really? And now they're pointing the finger.
And now we're like, oh no, don't do it, because obviously we know what happens. We all went to the top, and these guys are gonna be our competition. Right, and we know none of us can compete. By the way,
no one.
Nobody can compete because Newcastle, their owners, have nearly 15 to 20 times the number of assets. It's like we're not even close to even try to compete with money wise with these guys. No one can compete. They will win.
So we're betting on Newcastle to win the Premier League.
We put bets in now.
So place your bets.
But not this season. It will take
next
them.
Season.
It will take them a few years. It takes about 3-4 years to get to that stage.
Right.
To be fair, I was a bit confused. I never watched football that much, but I watched it I don't know, back in when Didier Drogba was still playing, them days. And then I find out Man City got bought by some team. I'm thinking, it doesn't matter. Next thing you know, they're at the top.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It makes sense.
It's funny. Well, yeah, so we were talking about China recently today, and I don't know if you heard about Hong Kong. They one of the universities removed the Tiananmen Square statue.
Right, they've put out a notice that if it's not dealt with within a week, apparently.
And what's the Tiananmen Square, just in case nobody knows?
Right, yeah. So
if you don't know,
you should know.
You should.
Yeah. So hopefully you've seen the iconic photo of a man with his shopping blocking an army or like a legion of tanks basically coming down the road. He stood in front of them and kept blocking the way, moving side left to right so that the tanks couldn't pass. And the purpose of the tanks was a show of force from China, because there was a lot of protests led by students, which happened to be in a place called Tiananmen Square.
And every year they hold like a candle. Wait. No,
but you haven't finished. What happened?
No, but just shut. He has.
I haven't said what happened.
No.
Go on. Sorry.
So anyway, the Chinese show of force was basically send soldiers, the military, down to Tiananmen Square and ended up massacring all these students.
The key bit. You forgot the key. Mind them died.
Why were they vigilant, huh? Why were they vigilant?
Yeah, because I was going to add, due to the massacre, I was going to just finish it off, but it was my bad. Go on, it was my bad. I shouldn't have interrupted. My bad.
Yeah, China, basically, they sent the military to kill off all these students. Students like that are just peacefully protesting, massacring, just in the street, shooting them. There's pictures of just people dead on their bikes all over the place. And after China did this, it leaked out to the rest of the world, and all they've been doing since is covering up, trying to revise history, essentially, which happens with superpowers. They can choose how history is written. And what the world is trying to do is say, we will never forget. And so, as Masood was saying, they've been holding vigils every year to basically remember.
Yeah, and doing like a candlelit vigil, and
exactly.
China basically even banned that emoji. That's what I was going to get to as well. They were
the vigil emoji.
Oh, really?
The candlelit. You know the candlelit emoji. Yeah. They deleted that one.
Shit. All
right. I rate them, brother. Every time they don't like shit. Bun.
It's fucked.
Bun.
But yes, and Hong Kong in the show of like, we remember, we won't forget. An artist has created a sculpture. I forgot the sculpture's name, but it basically just shows loads of people on top of each other, and it's like 6 foot, 7 foot in the air. But recently, and what people think is happening is Hong Kong has been influenced and is pressured more and more by China to, I guess, remove that from the history books.
A lot, and not only like literally the news organizations, where Hong Kong newspapers, media, everything, they have had their executives and their shareholders like literally arrested, like shut down.
Right.
So they've been pressuring a lot recently, and it's getting heavier and heavier and heavier.
And so much so, as we saw, the UK were issuing visas for Hong Kong people to come here, knowing that it's all already over.
Yeah,
it's over for you, man. There, it's just they done take the whole thing over.
it's getting too intense nowadays. And so you were saying, the university is
so the university has pretty much given. So the main reason the university's done this, what they've done is given like a notice for this statue to be removed and disbanded, just dealt with. It's not theirs. It was a gift to the university. They don't actually own it.
Yeah.
There's still an owner out there, the artist who owns the thing. But and so even though it's been there for 24, 25 years, it stood there in a show of like we remember at a university. They're basically saying that now this group that it was called the Hong Kong Alliance in Support of Patriotic Democratic Movements of China. Long name. It basically, they support democracy in China. Yeah. And they try and push for it, and they try and they're against how China currently is. And they've disbanded now. And so the uni says, well, if the group that's responsible for putting the statue here is gone, we don't want the statue anymore. Well, and that's their reasoning, apparently.
That's an awful reasoning, because the statue doesn't really belong to the group. It's more of a, it's there. It's
exactly. And the artist owns it, and he said, I don't mind it staying there. And apparently they haven't even directly contacted the artist. They've just done through the media have announced that they've got 1 week to get rid of it, or they're gonna do whatever they want with it, which is probably just like smash it down. And the artist is angry at first because what it stands for, and it's been there for 24, 25 years. Yeah. And why are they taking it down now? Probably because China's been pressuring them to.
You better start moving up or moving out.
And it doesn't take a week to remove a sculpture of that size. It takes cranes.
But the Hong Kong University, they've said that based on the latest risk assessment and legal advice, the university has written to the said organisation that you were on about, requesting it to remove the exhibit from the university campus. The university will continue to liaise with various stakeholders to handle the incident in a legal and reasonable manner.
Right. But what's the risk? Is it China getting angry?
For sure.
I doubt it's going to fall over and crush a few, man. It seems like it's still the same it was 24 years ago.
100%.
Exactly.
Amnesty International Denmark decried Hong Kong University's move in a statement, and they said they request to remove the pillar of shame. Literally, the pillar of shame.
Yeah, that's its name. Shame.
And they are not shameful themselves by removing it. Embarrassing.
So the request to remove the pillar of shame from Hong Kong University shows how fear and self-censorship have spread in the wake of the crackdown on civil rights in Hong Kong. China wants to erase the deaths of hundreds of peaceful students at Tiananmen Square in 1989 from the history books, but the world will not forget what happened when China crushed peaceful protesters.
We will forget when China's overlords come take over.
Yeah, might just honestly.
You know what I mean? And you know what? They've been violating even more when they've been sending. I don't know if you guys heard. They've been sending loads of fighter jets, attack helicopters. not like the LGBTQ ones that people take the piss out of on Twitter. But I'm talking about like the actual attack of goodness. So they've been sending loads of those to Taiwan in the show of like we're really getting ready for war. So much like I don't know if you guys have played that game, Civilization, where it's like when you in that game, it's like a war game against countries. So just before you attack, you set up all your troops ready at the border. That's what China's doing. They're getting ready, and they vowed that we will have reunification with Taiwan.
So we know they're going to do it. They're going to do it with force. They're going to do it without. Either way, they're vowing now that they are going to reunify with Taiwan, and Taiwan will now become part of mainland China.
President Xi Jinping has said that reunification with Taiwan must be fulfilled.
These men are serious.
And for the past couple of years they've been doing what's called military exercises and demonstrations flying over Taiwan, and they've been doing it multiple times a month to make sure Taiwan is always on their toes, and Taiwan has to take it seriously. They can't just pretend to be like, oh no, they're just exercising, they're just training,
because one day that will not be an exercise. Exactly, it will be an attack. And it shows the maddest thing is the China has been. So that South East Sea is not theirs, but they've been pretending like it's theirs for years because they need that control. Is one of the most important control points, militarily speaking, and they've been trying to take that control, and now they've basically took control of every area within, as you were saying, every area next to Taiwan.
Yeah, surrounding Taiwan, basically.
So that if the US and any other country was trying to help, China will be able to fight them off long enough. And I think it's becoming a point where the US and the UK and all these other countries have started to realize maybe it's not worth fighting over Taiwan, because this could really start a world war.
It's getting serious because they're trying to deplete Taiwan's resources, because basically Taiwan has to do an emergency military exercise every single time China does this. So they're always at a heightened state of emergency. The military, literally it's going crazy. The US tried to do a little military show off. They were like, nah, look at our powers, look at this, come to Taiwan, see what happens. And then China was like, oh, we're gonna keep going slowly, see what happens.
We'll pick him apart.
Yeah, we'll just pick them apart.
We took Hong Kong.
Bro, it's like a boxing match, and they're just doing it we're gonna keep the jabbing. We're just gonna keep jabbing. You guys can go for the punches, whatever.
We're go for the power punches. We're just gonna be
it's insane.
Dodge. But it shows you, man. But so that was this week's Let's Chat Shit podcast. But I want you guys to remember, fam, we need those likes, these comments. We actually need the comments.
Engage.
Yeah, exactly. We spoke about a lot of topics today. We need to see your opinions on the Facebook Whistleblower. What did you think about NASA doing all these exercises? The Panama paper leaks. We need you to, put your comments in. Let us know any suggestions. These
are the most hype stories.
We have it here, and you've been seeing our clips channel recently. Sorry, no, we don't actually have it. We have it in our channel. So now, if you notice, the clips are actually on our main channel. So if you have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just jump on that. See what's on. You know what I'm saying? And
thanks for listening to Chat Shit podcast.
And that's a wrap.
That's it.
Hey.